I'm Amy, sex educator, somatic sex and relationship coach, and sex shop owner.
And I'm April, VP of an international high-end pleasure products company and boss queen sex toy mogul. We're best friends who make our own rules about who we are as sexual beings.
With everything from how to be a badass in the bedroom to top tips for bringing your relationship to the next level, we have something just for you.
So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Don't forget to head on over to our website at shamelesssex.com for more. And for 15% off of some of our favorite sex toys, use coupon code SHAMELESSPP in all caps at purepleasureshop.com. Okay, so this podcast is going to be sexy. It is on S Factor, which is kind of like an erotic empowerment, seductive dance / pole work,
loving
floor
your
work.
body for all that it is.
Yeah, and it has
all that you are.
This component that's like about, self-care and taking care of ourselves, and is much more geared towards tapping into like feminine seduction. But we have one of the teachers of S Factor, because S Factor seems like it's all over the place. But we have someone that teaches S Factor here in Santa Cruz, and her name is Ellice. And we talk all about it. And April and I actually went and took an S Factor class, which was awesome. And kind of fun because we had to do this. Well, you'll hear it in the podcast, but we have to do this sexy walk to and from the pole. And they told us to look like we were drunk.
Drunk S walking. I was really good at that.
She was really good. I
actually saw her at the grocery store like 2 days ago, and she's like, "Oh my God, I can't stop thinking about your drunk walk."
It was so good.
It was also slightly awkward.
It was awkward. Yeah, well, you were putting like a lot of extra emphasis into it. I think you're really tapping into kind of how you would walk if you were really drunk.
Yeah, and I started walking with a limp like a total gangster.
She had kind of like a gangster lean. It reminded me of a combination of like sexy plus gangster lean plus that
gymnast.
That Seinfeld episode. No, not Seinfeld. Wrong person. Friends episode when Phoebe runs.
Oh yeah, where she's like all like.
Or the Seinfeld episode when Elaine dances with the thumbs.
Oh yeah,
kind of a combination of all of those.
I'll have to practice.
Still
that.
Sexy. She wore this like matching outfit with her midriff showing. It was really hot, but she kind of had this like swagger going on.
You were really good at the pole stuff.
You were good at the pole stuff.
You were.
No, you were. So anyways, this is the podcast. It's going to talk about erotic empowerment, some pole work, some seductive, sexy dancing, and it should be quite juicy.
But we have some alsos on a before we start the podcast, we have a really awesome opportunity coming up.
What's the opportunity, Chip?
We are doing a YouTube Live.
Oh, that's true.
4:20.
And 4:20, which
4
is
p.m.
the same week that this podcast comes out, I believe, which is super exciting.
Yeah.
So this is on 4:20, so April 20th, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on YouTube Live. And we will have some questions that you've already sent us that we will be answering on YouTube Live via some audio and video combination. And if you log in during that time, you can actually ask us questions directly through the chat box, I believe. So this is your opportunity to interact directly with us, or if you've sent us questions that we have not answered, this is your opportunity to have them answered. I believe it records them too, so if you don't log in during that time, you can actually watch the episode later.
I think it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
To like actually tune in or ask questions if you want to do that. And it's also the first time we've ever done it, and we'll be on video, so it's not just audio.
So you'd see April's super beautiful, sexy, hot, delicious face.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'll make sure I really fill in my brows that day.
She's got some brows, and they look real good.
Defined brows are super in right now.
Oh, my God. So if you want to watch the YouTube live video, the ways to do it, 1, go to our website, shamelesssex.com. There should be a link on there directing you to the YouTube live video. It would just be there the day of. Number 2, go to YouTube and look up Pure Pleasure Shop, and it should be on there when you click on Pure Pleasure Shop. Pure Pleasure Shop is the sex shop that I co-own with my mother-daughter owned super awesome sex shop in Santa Cruz. You can go to purepleasureshop.com to learn more, and if you use coupon code ShamelessSexPP in all caps, you get 15% off of anything that you buy. Voila!
And it's a nice website. I mean, it's beautiful. It's easy to navigate. You can look at things.
Stunning.
Listen to our Sex Toy 101 episode from the beginning. We talk a lot about different sex toys to own and buy, but getting 15% off is quite helpful.
Quite a deal. Get your Uber Lube and Hot Octopus. Also, everyone, we have a couple things we want to share. An offering for a contest to win some sex toys that we'll share in one moment. And an event, if you live in Santa Cruz or near Santa Cruz, I'm co-teaching an event on Sunday, May 6th. And this is a Tantra in Motion workshop. I'm co-teaching it with Daniel Molnar, who runs Ecstatic Dance here in Santa Cruz. He's a phenomenal teacher, and he's bringing the contact improv.
He's like world renowned. Right? For teaching.
He's amazing. He's an amazing teacher. He's sought after all over the world. They want him to go and teach.
He's like an energetic junkie. Like you get addicted to his energy.
And he's just such a kind, wonderful human. But he's a wonderful teacher, and so he's bringing the contact improv and the dance component, but mostly contact improv, which is a very close kind of sensual dance, but it usually isn't incorporated with sexy. It's just very close. Your bodies are always touching as you dance. You need zero skills. It's not like a coordination thing. It's a presence thing. And I'm bringing in the Tantra, and we're doing a 1-day full workshop from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. At the upstairs Redwood room at the Vets Hall. And you can sign up or learn more if you go to Pure Pleasure Shop's website, so purepleasureshop.com. You can sign up there. We have an early bird rate that will expire, I think, in a week or so. So you want to get that early bird rate, but come in and dance with us and learn with us. And we've done this multiple times. This is our first full day offering, but it's a really good way to get fully immersed. It is Sunday, May 6th in Santa Cruz at the Vets Hall upstairs.
So go get recovery after your Cinco de Mayo hangover.
Yeah, there you go.
And go work it out and learn something and dance it out.
Yeah,
that sounds awesome.
It's a good way. There'll be a lot of connection exercises. You'll learn a lot about Tantra. You'll learn some sensual dance. And so we kind of get to turn up the heat and the erotic. I teach everyone that seduction piece that I like to do.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm super excited. Just want to put that out there. And then April will share about our contest coming up.
So we talked about on an episode a few weeks ago, running a cock ring contest because Hot Octopus just launched 2 amazing cock rings. The reviews are in. Not one single bad review thus far about the cock ring. It's been selling like really well, but not only, aside from sales, it is actually just a beautiful functional product. And I think it is, actually I can say with 100% certainty it is the best cock ring on the market to date. It's rechargeable, waterproof, it's got like 15 functions, and it's soft and it's gorgeous. Someone called it, Connor. We were on Connor's podcast, Connor Moore of the Realist podcast.
Yeah, and by the time this goes out, it's already been aired.
It's okay, but we were on there.
Perfect, yeah. Uh-huh.
And he said it was like, I gave him one, and he said it was like the Apple of cock rings.
Yes, you can't quote us, Apple. Don't sue us for that one. But
no,
he said it. We didn't.
He said it. So the iPod of cock rings. So it's beautiful, and we're going to be giving one away. It's valued at $99. We're giving 5 away, though. We're actually giving 5 away.
Yeah.
And the details of the contest are this. Between April 17th, 2018 and April 24th,
yes,
when we post Instagram posts, anybody who likes, you have to do 3 things. Like the post, reshare the post, and tag Shameless Sex Podcast on Instagram, and you will be entered to win the 5 of these cock rings.
Yeah, we're giving away 5. It's going to be a raffle. We'll enter your name into a raffle.
And each of them are $100. We can talk about them more, but FYI, you can check them out. They're the Atom and the Atom Plus, and we'll give away 5 Atom Pluses. And you can go to hotoctopus.com and check them out on the website. But they are fantastic. You won't want to miss those. So again, Instagram contest. We'll announce the winner probably on our podcast.
We'll announce it on Instagram.
On Instagram.
So you want to be an Instagram fan of Shameless Sex. So go look up Shameless Sex on Instagram, and then within that week, one of the posts of that week you share and tag Shameless Sex, and you're entered in to win.
3
we'll
things.
Ship you one if you're a winner.
It'll change your sexual experiences.
And the cool thing about cock rings is that they don't just have to be used on a cock. You can use it as like a hand or finger vibe and just put it anywhere on the body too. So if you don't have a cock or you're not playing with a cock, you can still use this super awesome rechargeable vibrator.
And you could use it on a dildo if you wanted to as well, or throw it on a dildo and a harness if you aren't into dildos. I mean, there's multiple ways to use it. So it's not just for penis owners, it's for anyone. So get ready for that Instagram contest, everyone. It's going to be wonderful. And we also, I just want to say, as the wino of the group,
April's the wino.
Meaning of you and I, because, well, I guess if we're in a group situation, I'm usually the wino too. With pride, I wear that label. We are drinking some fabulous wine tonight from Margins Wine. And Amy, now you know, because you were not educated about wine as much, and now you know, what is natural wine?
Natural wine, also known as raw wine, is pretty much really what organic means, but you know that organic is a whole bunch of bullshit these days, because in the wine world, it just means that you leave sulfates out of it? Sulfites out of it.
Sulfates are in computers. In shampoo.
Yeah, you don't want sulfates in computers. I don't want to drink my computer. So yeah, it's like as kind of like pure and natural as it gets, and they put a lot of little additives that you don't want, but they don't have to list in a lot of other wines, and in natural wines they don't do that. So
that's one thing that we don't get very political, but from a personal standpoint, I get like really charged up about what's in our food
and sex toys.
And sex toys. Yeah, what's in our sex toys, in our food, in our lotions and potions that we put on our body. And hence the reason, I mean, when Megan from Margins contacted us about her wine, I was like, let me try it. And what is this about? And it was awesome. She takes underrepresented varietals, underrepresented regions, and it's all organic wine that is fantastic, and it's preservative free. So if you're not a wine drinker, check it out. Try her wine. You can go on her website and sign up for her newsletter. She makes really small batches. So, you know, just grab a bottle, see if you like it, but sign up for a newsletter. Just go to marginswine.com. And sign up for her newsletter. And
sex question.
We have so many sex questions. Thank you, first of all, for writing us. If you have written us a question and we have not yet answered via on the air, because let's face it, it's impossible for us to answer every question on the air. We're doing our very best, hence the YouTube live. So if you want to and you're compelled to, always write us. We will get to it eventually, but you can send us an email at shamelesssexpodcast@gmail.com or go to our website, shamelesssex.com, and there's like a little question form there, like contact us or ask us a question, and we will definitely reach out to you. Also, before we get into the sex question, if you haven't done this and you're an avid listener, please write us a review on iTunes. We read them. I will read it in an accent. I know my German accent wasn't great. I've been working on it.
Oh my God, we haven't done that in a while. We should probably do one soon.
We should. And I think that, you know, it's really, we read every review. We just haven't read one on the air in a while, but we appreciate all the reviews and the feedback. We do listen, and we love our listeners, and we listen to our listeners. So please send us a review. Go on iTunes, and it's really to help build our podcast from the grassroots movement, so people can find us easier.
Grassroots.
We don't make money. We hope to someday as earn our lives, but
someday. But until then, we'll just take all of this wonderful praise.
We'll take the verbal gratuity. We like the verbal gratuity.
And we are going to be doing we actually talked about how we're going to do a free giveaway on our Instagram of one of the hot octopus cock rings. So we will be doing that. So
maybe even a couple. I think we're going to give away 2.
I like it.
Maybe 3.
So stay tuned. We are working on that concept right now. So hopefully very, very soon that will come out.
If you're not following us on Instagram, follow us on Instagram. Check us out. It's like we mostly just talk about, feature empowerment pieces and cool art, and follow us because we love more followers on Instagram.
We love you. Okay, so we're going to do sex question. Okay, sex question. I was just looking at the reviews to see if there's any new requests for
accents.
For an accent, but there wasn't. But there's some good people. Oh, John wrote, "Love the podcast, very smart and informative. Keep it coming, please," with some hearts. Thanks, John. Okay, we love you. Sex question. Patrick asks 2-part question. Number 1, I have Crohn's disease. I'm interested in prostate play, especially since there is some research to suggest that it helps reduce the risk of prostate cancer. I was wondering if either of you have come across this issue, in any gender identity, and if there are any tips or concerns you recommend or have regarding people with GI tract inflammation. Part 1. Part 2. The beginning of my wife and my relationship was extremely sexual. We've been together for 7 years, and the sex is still really good, but less frequent than I would like. We've discussed this at length, and there is not animosity about it, but facts are facts, and I'm horny all the time. She has always been more of the romantic and likes the cuddling, kissing, and contact that is not related to the act of sex. When I really turn to on the side of the relationship, it almost always leads to sex, and then both of our needs are met. The only downside to this is that for me to be that kind of person is quickly exhausting, and I ultimately lose some of my sex drive and start to find the sex more work than usual. My question is, what are your thoughts on this? So number 1, Crohn's disease is actually like more common than,
my roommate had that in college.
It's super common.
It is. And it's basically your body doesn't absorb
the nutrients
properly. So a lot of times folks are not receiving the right nutrients, and you're supposed to eat a special diet, and there's a lot of things, and it can actually be quite.
They need like an anti-inflammatory diet to help heal the GI tract and the stomach and the intestines and all that.
Which is the gastrointestinal tract.
Yeah, and we're not doctors.
No, definitely not. I have a degree in environmental science and your human sexuality, but
what we can say, talk about your butt. So, but about the butt, I would recommend reading Charlie Glickman and I forgot the other woman, Aisley. There's another woman that co-wrote it with him. The Ultimate Guide to Prostate Play. It has so much information there on prostate pleasure and prostate health. I believe that they do talk about, they have the studies talking about how prostate play does help to lower inflammation, and inflammation is kind of the leading cause of cancer. So, yes, there are kind of some indirect ways to help to decrease cancer by doing prostate play to lower inflammation.
Which also, if just as a side note, if you do have an enlarged prostate, it's important to consult your doctor before you insert anything and do prostate play.
Or if you have prostate cancer or any of that stuff.
Yes,
check in first.
Definitely. And ask if that is okay. And Western medicine won't tell you the benefits of prostate play. There's no hard science behind prostate play and prostate cancer, alleviating prostate cancer, but there's a lot of research in other countries that say otherwise. And
and it's like a muscle, right? Anything that we continue to exercise and keep strong, such as a prostate or our arms or whatever, the less likely we are to have some sort of health issue. So I recommend looking into that, if not just having that conversation with your doctor, reading the book, The Ultimate Guide to Prostate Play, and then in terms of you having Crohn's disease, I know that there are anti-inflammatory diets that
turmeric is really great for combating
overall diet. So it might make sense to direct your attention to an anti-inflammatory. Well, even beyond paleo, you need to get rid of the nightshades and things though too.
Yeah.
Like go beyond that.
Diet's everything.
Like look into anti-inflammatory diets and what foods are causing inflammation. And I'm not a doctor. Again, this isn't my specialty, but from that regard, to work on healing the GI tract. And then from there, once the GI tract is healed, then maybe doing the prostate work.
I would suggest also consulting like a naturopath nutritionist of some sort that's going to suggest what a balanced diet would be to fight inflammation, especially since you have the inflammation in the rectum. That is something that you want to make sure you're healing that from the inside. So when you are doing the old number 2, it's not as painful.
You mean pooping?
Yeah. Doing the old number 2.
Yield 2.
Thank you, number 2.
Thank you, number 2. Okay. Part 2 about the sex drive. So you are horny all the time. You want to have a lot of sex. Your partner, she is more interested in all the romantic snuggling, cuddling, kissing. You have the ability to be the one to kind of initiate and make the sex happen. But when that happens, it's actually more work for you and kind of exhausting. And so what are our thoughts on this? My opinion is this sounds really normal. Super normal. This is your wife, so it sounds like you've been together for a while, unless you just got married. 7 years. We've been together for 7 years. So yeah. And the sex is really good. So you said the sex is still really good and it's less frequent. I say you guys are doing a great job already. You are 7 years. The sex is still really good. It's less frequent, but you're still having it, and you have the room for you to go outward and to be able to go and turn your wife on, or to get the mood going, and for her to want to have sex. It doesn't sound like it's coercion. It just sounds like you initiate and spark the interest, and then it happens. So I think that you guys are doing an awesome job, and it just sounds like there's some more conversations for negotiation of adding more sex into your week. We talked about this on the last podcast, and we talk about this often, that sex is a negotiation between two or more people. So say you want to have sex 4 days a week and she wants to have sex 1 day a week, then you find a way to meet in the middle and you redefine what sex is. Is sex always penetration? Is oral? Is making out? Is that sex? Like, is that what you're talking about? So getting really clear. So my thoughts on it are you guys are already doing a great job. Doesn't sound like there's any huge problems. It sounds really normal, and it just sounds like there's some more negotiation that needs to happen about what your needs are. And this negotiation probably should happen regularly. Like,
right,
do check-ins every month.
Or
how's our sex life?
And if it's the infrequency, as you said, Amy, and you mentioned, find what's a good balance for both partners. But if it's a once or twice a week thing, then set up a sexy date night where on Tuesdays it's Taco Tuesday, and
Taco Tuesday,
you're gonna have that happening. Or taco. Friday, it's fucking Friday, so you're gonna fuck it out.
Whoa, I like the names. Is this what you do?
No, but I just think it's a good idea sometimes.
It's pretty hot.
What about it's Thongy Thursday? Rip off that thong, get down.
You play a thong song? If you're 18 years old, you have no idea what we're talking about.
No, the thong song, Cisco.
The thong.
Is that trademarked?
I mean, I think I can sing it. We just can't play it on here.
I'm just kidding.
Shit, we just got sued by Cisco.
Cisco. So I'd say to our listener, so if that is, I'm not exactly sure of all the details. However, as Amy mentioned, congrats for having what you had even mentioned, being a healthy sex life. But I guess if you want more sex, then talk with your partner. Be like, hey, babe, when you're sitting down, hey, look, I love our sex life so much. I want more of it. Can we do 2 days a week instead of once every other week? I suggest Taco Tuesday, and I want to fuck you Friday.
I want to fuck you
on Friday.
I literally talked. Oh God, I don't even sing that song. I want to fuck you like an animal.
Oh,
jeez,
that's my favorite karaoke song.
Ugh,
people get really mad.
I'll throw up. Yeah, first time I got finger banged to that song.
I got finger banged.
It was not fun.
All
right,
cool.
So thanks, Patrick. I hope that helped. I know that we're not doctors, so we probably didn't give you all the information that you want, but hopefully it's helpful. And now,
without further ado,
we go into some
steamy,
sexy conversation
S-Factor.
On the S-Factor. All right, so here we go. It's S-Factor time.
And here we are with Ellice, the beautiful, the wonderful Ellice.
From S-Factor. Wait, before we have the majestical, magic, phenomenal Ellice talk, let's read her bio.
This is true. Who is Ellice, Amy?
Well, Ellice is Greek, so it's Ellice Apostolos. Yes, I nailed it. Ellice Apostolos empowers every woman to connect to her body's innate wisdom and pleasure so she can move through the world in her fully expressed radiance. As a certified S-Factor instructor, Ellice offers deeply transformative trainings where what begins as a personal erotic movement practice within the studio walls can become a sustainable practice that enriches every area of life. Ellice also guides women entrepreneurs to build the life of their desires through her online programs. She empowers them to put deep self-care and pleasure at the heart of their workday so they can lead with their feminine genius, avoiding overwhelm as a business owner. As a co-owner of Steel and Grace, Santa Cruz, California's premier pole studio, Ellice offers a wide variety of weekly S-Factor classes suitable for women with or without dance experience. Find out more at sfactorsantacruz.com.
Ellice,
welcome,
hi.
Ellice.
Hi, ladies.
Hi.
Thank you so much for having me on Shameless Sex Talk.
Yeah, she's got it down.
The jangle.
She's a
the
regular.
jangle.
So, we talked about this in our intro, but April and I, were invited to your S Factor class this week. So we got an experience, a little taste of it.
It was super fun.
It was
I've
really
never done that
fun.
before.
So, okay, before we talk about our experience, tell us, cause I have right here. So S Factor is a feminine movement practice, a sensuous workout for body and soul that's intelligently designed to open the female body into her full, free, erotic expression. But let's talk a little bit more about what S Factor is, because I'm sure a lot of people, they're like, X Factor, S Factor, what
It's
is?
S Factor though. S like in sex.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about S Factor.
So S Factor is actually a movement practice that's been around for about 17 years. And it was developed by a woman named Sheila Kelly, who's an actor. And she was cast in a film as a stripper. And so she actually went to clubs and she trained with strippers and she learned how to move in this way for this movie. And during the course of this time, it completely changed her life. She actually realized that there were aspects of her body and parts of her body that she just did not have access to at all. So she made the movie, changed her life, spiced up her marriage, woo! And then women were like, what's going on? You look amazing. The moms at the preschool, what's happening? What have you been up to? So she started a movement in her living room, basically offering classes in her living room, and then developed this beautiful movement practice that is now really international.
Yeah, it's all over the place now. Yeah. I had only heard about it through you teaching it, but then when I looked online, that it's something that is in a lot of urban cities, and we're not even Santa Cruz. Are we an urban city? Not really.
Not really.
But I mean, we're here. So, okay. So it was designed. So she taught herself this by going to strip clubs and things and to watch other dancers, and then developed her own practice. And then people saw how much this was changing her life. She was shining and beaming from it. And they're like, what are you doing? And they wanted to learn it too. And so she started sharing it and it grew.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
So you study with her?
I study with her and some of her master teachers.
Okay.
I actually discovered S Factor by accident.
Oh.
So I have a history of dance and performance and theater, and I've been dancing for years, and I was in a year-long retreat, and it was just something that was kind of offered at the retreat. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what this S Factor thing is. I'll go check it out. I'm a dancer. I like to move. And I go to my first class, and as you gals got to learn the routine, some fun, sexy things. The other women in the class were much more advanced, and they're like mounting the massage tables and rubbing against the walls. And I'm like, I don't know. This might be a little too sexual for me. I was not quite sure, but I'm like, I'm going to stick with it. And I finished that 2-hour class, and my body felt like she had never felt before. And I was hooked, and I went every day, 2-hour class every morning for the retreat, and then just haven't stopped since. I literally, after the first 4 days, was like, what is this? I want to learn it. I want to teach it. Every woman in the world needs to have this.
How long have you been doing it then?
About 3 years.
Damn, you are a sexy dancer.
You really are.
I was creating all these stories. Like,
Cat
wow,
power.
she's been dancing for like 10 years.
Oh yeah.
All
Well, you
up
have a
in the-
dancing background, but
Yes.
still.
Well, the thing is, though, is all of us are sexy dancers. It's just about getting into that place in our body. Because we're shut down in many, many areas.
Or
that
stuck
are the
in our
places-
heads.
Or stuck in our head, exactly.
Yeah. Which is what I was doing when we did the class. I was like, I'm awkward. I'm like, almost 5'10", and so awkward when I move. And so I was in that story in my head, and I'm like, nope, just deep breaths. Just do it.
I love strip clubs, so that's the only my research and development. So I try to channel my inner stripper, and I value dancing, pole dancing in general. I think it's beautiful, and I love strip clubs because I love watching women in all of their glory command on the stage a group of people and command their attention. And I think it's awesome that their payment are the dollars or whatever they are. And so your class kind of brought that out of me, but I would recommend it. I've been talking about it with some people because I thought that power comes out of you when you're like commanding everyone's attention in the room, and it's really fun.
And you said in the beginning, so the class had this, 40 minutes warm up, 40 minutes warm up. The lights were dim. There's red lights on. Are all X Factor classes like that?
They are.
Okay.
So no mirrors, dimly lit, and part of that is so that we aren't thinking about what we're supposed to look like. It's that getting out of our head thing you were just talking about,
Into the
right?
body.
And it creates this kind of like cozy, I think of it as like a sacred womb space, and just all the exterior stuff gets to quiet down. down so we can tune in more with our bodies.
Yeah, I felt that in there. And it was our first time, so I don't know about you, April, but I definitely was like looking around, am I doing this right a little bit? But then I could feel that, every little movement in there, it was just, we were doing some certain movements. We just take our hands and rub our hands all over our body, and you're just adding this new, not new, but just added addition of sensuality to it and embodiment to it, and it just made everything kind of like super sexy.
And you close your eyes through a lot of it. I was really trying to tap into because I don't identify with as being a sexy woman. Like I'm always like, I'm very, I try to get in touch with my feminine, but I don't identify as being sexy. Like it gets awkward for me to be fucking sexy. Like we all witnessed that with my sexy walk.
Well, the sexy what you got confused.
You're very sexy.
Yeah,
you were just thinking too much. That's all.
She was. It's true. Yeah.
But I'm like, how do you be sexy?
I think this is we're our own worst critic. And so I'm the same way. Like when I think of myself, sometimes I think I'm like almost like this 6'3" awkward, gangly, skinny white guy.
Skinny white guy.
That's like my like alter ego. His name is Max, and he's really awkward. And sometimes I feel like that guy.
Does Max wear glasses?
Yeah, and that's why I like guys with glasses. He wears glasses. And so, but sometimes especially when I'm using my body, sometimes I feel like that person. And like you just said, Ellice, or I don't know, did you say this? I don't think that we're taught or trained to be in our sensual body all the time. In fact, there's shame around this that, that we can't walk around in our sexiest place, just down the street. So we turn that part of ourselves off. And for myself, I know that, I just haven't had a lot of experience in there. And so I have in the last couple of years doing like my somatica training, and we do a seduction piece, but, I feel like what your work is and what S Factor is doing is you are, teaching, is it reteaching people, kind of bringing them back to the original state that was always theirs, that was kind of lost. Like it's always been there. It's a birthright.
I absolutely agree. It's our sexuality, it's our sensuality, it's our curves, it's our body as women, it's our emotionality, it's the way that we connect with other people, all of that. Mm-hmm. And we do live in a world where we've been taught to be careful with our bodies, and
especially women.
Well, I'm talking about women specifically.
Okay,
it's true. Uh-huh. And there's been good reason. I think that our fathers and our mothers and our grandparents who told us to, careful not to stick your breast out too much, and don't shake your hips when you're walking down the street because you could get hurt or raped. And so there's so much fear connected with our bodies as sexual beings that we've learned to shut that part of us down. And what I really stand for women with S Factor practice is that there's this opportunity and this place they can come to where we can start to turn our body's dial up again. And when you're in the studio, turn it up to 20, let it be full out. Let yourself feel that part of yourself, really for you first and foremost. And then one of the things I like to work with women about is how do we modulate? How do we turn that dial up when we're in the situations where we can have that full expression and we know it's safe? And then how do we turn it down when we're moving through the world and we're like, this is not the place to be wearing that outfit. I better, grab a hoodie and put it on when I go to the gas station, or like using discernment in the world, but not making ourselves wrong in our sexual feminine amazingness, and not disconnecting. I think what we do is disconnect. Mm-hmm. This is about reconnecting and then learning how to navigate that in the world that we live in.
Yes, yeah, so turning on and off when it feels, I don't want to use the word appropriate, but feels right for you.
Feels good when you feel alive. So is S Factor specifically only for women, or are there classes for all genders, age groups?
I love that you asked this. It is just for women.
Okay.
And it's something that I've been thinking about. I've had a lot of men ask me, can we come to your class? And I've said no so far, but I've been thinking a lot about why. And part of it is because women in female bodies, it just changes when there's a man in the room. Just like I know when men are in a room, it changes for women. It's just, there's a dynamic that shifts. And so I have decided to keep my classes only for women or people who identify as women. The new studio, which I know we're going to talk about, that I'm going to be opening in May, we will have some co-ed classes. So
that's so exciting,
there are
by the way.
amazing male pole dancers. There's no reason a man can't get up on a pole. Yeah. S Factor just really is a space for women.
I dated a male stripper.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He was Scottish. Yeah, he had
he still likes my things on Instagram a lot of times. But yeah, he's a stripper, and he was like really comfortable with himself, and I respected him, and he had some good moves. And I was like, dude, Yeah. I mean, yeah, he was like 28 and things.
So, well, that's exciting. So it will have your new studio will have, so we have some, so when we say woman, is it female identified? Like if someone was a trans woman, they would be invited into that space too.
They are. And I have not yet had someone
that you
that
know
has
of.
shown up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that I'm aware of.
And then you'll have mixed gendered. And so I would imagine, I wonder if that will be like a lot of like couples going together. You don't know yet, but it'll be open.
I think that could be cool.
Yeah.
I just announced the opening of the studio. My business partner and I just did a big Facebook thing yesterday, and both of us have been getting messages from men. Are there going to be classes for us? Maybe there'll be special workshops I could bring my partner. So I'm excited to, have a space where S Factor really gets to continue on for women and the practice that's involved there. And then we're going to have all these other classes that can include couples and men.
I think that's smart. I think that like offering to everyone, I think is a great idea. And you can curate something for men.
Well, and we also live in a culture that thinks that sexy, like sexy and seduction is very feminine, and that men, or even like, whatever, men, whomever they're into, straight men or not straight men, that this isn't something that applies to them. And so I think that's probably confusing. Like, how does a man in this culture learn to be sexy or sensual in a culture that says that men don't really do that or have that, right? So I think that's great.
Yeah. I have men ask me all the time, what's the equivalent for me to do like what you're doing with women? And really what I'm doing with women is guiding them back to a connection with their bodies. So my answer to men is I'm not 100% sure. I'd love to talk more about it and get your ideas, but something that has to do with connecting you with your body. Because I think we live in such a mind-oriented culture, and our body is just this amazing vessel with so much wisdom and so much expression that we're not always tapped into. So I don't know what the equivalent would be for a man to have that really, if they have a strong masculine energy, like raw. How do you get into that,
Pumping iron at the gym.
Well, again, it sounds like it's more of an inner listening. Like it's going to be different for everyone, right? Like just like each woman in your S Factor class, one woman, I was looking around the room during it, and everyone was doing something similar and yet different. And that's how it should be, right? Mm-hmm. That there's an individual expression.
And there was no wrong. That was what I loved about it.
Exactly.
Yeah, your own
exactly.
way.
This is an invitation into your body to see how she wants to express. So I refer to my body as a she. Mm-hmm. It took me a little while to get on board with that, but here's why.
I like it.
I was like, this is kind of weird, because we are so mind driven. And I think, how often have you said something really shitty to yourself?
Often.
To your body, looked at yourself and said something. So this whole idea of the body being a she is like this entity that's I get to love and care for, and just so. Sometimes I call my body a she.
I like
She's
that.
smart.
I like that too.
We were talking today, I was in a retreat earlier, and we were talking about how, and a lot in the psychology world, a lot of times they say that our inner talk or the way that we treat ourselves should be the same way that we would treat a child. So, cause you wouldn't say to a child, some people do, you're so fat, you're so ugly, but realistically, that's not how we should speak to children. And a lot of our self-talk is very much that. It's like, so hurtful and harmful and negative. And so to just look at ourselves as like hurt little children and speak to ourselves in that way, in this loving, soft, gentle way. And now, the way you're talking, we're not really children. We're sexy children now. So sexy adults. Talk to your inner sexy adult.
And you could take that one more step if you want and actually give your body a name. So I did an exercise with Sheila once where we actually wrote like a forgiveness letter to our mind for all the horrible things we've said to our bodies over the years, and then we named our body. So
what's your body's name?
She's my sweet baby.
My sweet baby. What would yours be named, Chip?
My sexy foxy Roxy.
Sexy foxy Roxy?
Yeah.
I like that. I have no idea what mine would be.
No, yeah, you do.
I keep tapping into my inner Max right now.
What about, how about like Maxie on Paxi?
What's a paxi?
I don't know. Whatever you want it to be.
All right, I'll think about it through the podcast. I'll come up with it at some point in this podcast.
Okay.
So this is your body that wants to be loved and nurtured.
Yes.
And needs like forgiveness or not forgiveness. That is offering forgiveness and needs nourishment. Now, there's also your erotic body, and that's a whole other story.
Oh, so
she might have a different name.
Oh,
erotic
body. Okay, this isn't the erotic body's name.
Well, it's all one.
Okay, it's all
but
one.
my
Okay.
sweet baby is like, that's when, like, if I look at myself in the mirror and say you have fat thighs, which I really don't do that very often anymore, but that's one of the things that I still have shame about is that I'm teaching women around loving our bodies as they are because they're capable and amazing and beautiful and sexy, and then
And
that
curvy.
shit comes out every once in a while in my head, and I just like nip it. So that's the sweet baby that's like, oh, I'm sorry.
Ah, okay.
I like that.
Yeah, so it kind of is similar talking to your inner child.
I get down on myself when I'm in hot yoga class and stuff. And then I do I am strong. I do that. I replace like bad thoughts. And I'm conscious of it whenever. And I said that today I was in hot yoga because you're looking at yourself and you're in all these poses in little clothes and you're sweating. And, I said every time I was like, oh, I'm not doing this right. Or I look at that roll. I'm like, I am so strong. I am so good. And I kept doing that because it's so hard. You're so mean to yourself.
Yeah.
I am. I shouldn't say I can only speak for myself, but I'm mean to myself sometimes.
I think it's pretty common.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's
I'm
why
going to
having
say sexy,
practices like
foxy,
this.
Roxy, you're strong.
Yeah.
Sexy. Okay, I came up with mine.
Okay.
I'm just like I need to perfect it, but it's like a hot Amazonian because my thing is that I'm so tall that it makes me feel a little awkward.
The
at
amazing
times.
Amazonian.
Just something hot though, not just amazing.
The
Alluring.
Alluring Amazonian.
sensuous.
I like all of it.
You can be all
But
of it.
it's going to be
You
something
are.
Amazonian because that reminds me that I am really tall, and sometimes it's like, wow, she's really tall. I mean, I'm only like 5. Sometimes I feel like just awkwardly tall. So anyways, this is an Amy therapy session. So we're going to move on from that. Ellice.
Maybe it needs to be. Whoa.
It tends to happen when we delve into the body. There's layers that get to be healed and expressed and shed and
I've done work around my inner masculine, the tall, gangly guy named Max.
Well,
which is funny because my name would have been Max if I was, Ben was my name if I was a boy.
I think that this is a good example, and you bring this up, Ellice, that if our listeners out there, if you have like those thoughts and you bring up a great point, create a beautiful name for yourself that makes you feel good. And every time that you have a thought in your mind about you being a specific way that is less desirable, replace it with something that's affirming your beauty.
Well,
yes.
Oh, I was going to say, and a self-care practice, which that's what
I
this
can
is.
actually add a practice that's specific around healing some of our body shame. So this is something that I've done a couple of times, and I actually do it occasionally as a reminder. And for some people, it might be a little bit edgy, but it's to actually strip and get totally naked and look at yourself in the mirror and really look at yourself in the mirror and find the places on your body that you absolutely love. Like, I love my collarbone and shoulders. I don't know what it is about that part of my body, but I'm just like, that's so sexy. And like the way my neck goes and then my collarbone and my shoulders, and I got nice arms and this little place here on the side of my belly. Like, there's areas, right? So, and then I get to look at those places and go, I'm so beautiful. I love that about myself. And even if it's just a few places on your body, just starting to really take in the unique beauty that is you. And then when we start doing that, it grows, right? Our appreciation and the way that we see ourselves can
That's
grow.
a great practice.
I love that.
I do too.
Yeah, because I think we've talked about this before, the whole saying of like, you have to learn to love yourself, and you can't love anyone else until you fully love yourself. And then like some people aren't fully going to love themselves in so many aspects of themselves. It's a lot. It's a lot to love yourself, your mind, body, and spirit. But if you can find the little details of your mind, body, and spirit that you do love and focus on those things, then I mean, that's perfect. That's wonderful. Yeah, just so you're saying don't focus on things you don't love then, basically, right?
Which is like the theory of life, right? Focus on the things that you love.
Yeah.
Right.
Brings in more.
The glass is half full.
It is.
Okay, well, so that was something that you just showed. So that was going to be one of my next questions. What are some tools or tips that you can offer folks right now to boost up their sexy game? So there's one, looking in the mirror, but do you have any other tips that people who are listening right now? I know that we're going to talk about how they can actually work with you, because this is an embodied practice. So this is something that is worthy of learning more about in person, whether it's an online workshop with Ellice or in Santa Cruz, if you can make it here. But for people at home right now who want just something they can do tonight, what you got for them? What you got?
It's so hard to choose.
I know. So many of them.
There's so many yummy practices. So because it's a body practice, one of the things I like to do is just get people moving. And normally we move really fast and really linear, right? So we're like upright, straight, holding our bodies together, and we're moving quick. So just slowing down. And that's something that you actually mentioned, Amy, the speed of the class. It was slow, and letting your hands come on your body. Because sometimes we don't even know what kind of touch we like. Or we're not used to touching ourselves. We're used to other people touching us, and then we go, oh, we like that. And so this can be a great practice. I know we might talk about couples too, but how do you know what you like so that you can communicate that to your partner? So that can be one. Just slow down. So in class, we were doing our S walk, which is just a slow kind of curvy walk. It's about a quarter of the speed of what you normally would do. And when you step, just letting your weight fall into your hips. And it's kind of like you're doing a drunken stumble trip. If you lose your balance, then you're going slow enough. And it can feel a little bit awkward, but it just slows us down and gets us really, really present. So
I was not good at that. I mean, I was good at that, but
you're good at that.
I got to get a little bit better at slowing down, because I always walk like I'm late to a meeting.
Yeah.
And so
most people do.
It's actually a really good practice for me to slow down. I'm going to S-walk to my car today.
I say S-walk in the grocery store, S-walk through the farmer's market.
When you see me at New Leaf next time.
She's going to be like,
and then every once in a while you might run a hand up over your thigh and just kind of graze your ass and be like,
I just looked 3 numbers at New Leaf today.
I don't know what's happening.
What happened. I was just bending over to look at that chicken apple sausage.
And my hand just made its way to my own ass.
Yeah, I was like, what happened?
So it sounds like, okay, so to summarize that then, to slow down, which is so funny because we talk about that all the time, just about sexuality, especially with touching genitals. We say, go slow and then go slower than that and then slower than that, slower than slow in terms of touching genitals, because that's not what porn shows, but that's what genitals love, at least for the first 5-10 minutes. But you're saying incorporate more slowness in your everyday movements and with your sensuality as well, and to just turn it down a little. It's like,
think you're going slow and go about half that speed and just see how that feels. It just brings us into the present moment in our body, because like you were saying, April, it was a little awkward doing that S-walk, like you might fall over. So it just gets us present in a different way.
And I also noticed that you can play it more of a fast-paced song, but you can move really slowly to it. You don't have to move really fast. You don't have to move like every movement to the beat. You can move super slow to a faster song and just like let your body. It's like a snake.
What's your favorite song to dance to?
Oh my gosh! So there's so much to talk about. I'm like, where do we go next? Do we talk about music? Do we talk about emotions? Do we talk about erotic creatures? There's just so much. So it's all tied in. The emotions and the music philosophy and the erotic creatures, all tied into this question you're asking me.
Okay, tell us.
So my favorite song is Pleaser by Tyga. Ooh. It's so fucking hot. His voice just sounds like sex to me. It's slow and it's sultry, but it's like edgy and grindy.
I know Tyga.
Yeah.
Amy's
so
like,
I used to never
listen
to music like this. And this would be the kind of music that I would be like, why would somebody write a song? This is like just nasty. It's about sex. It's misogynistic. It's talking about women needing to put towels down because they're dripping. Like, all the thing around strippers and pole dancing and women being objectified for their sexuality. And I actually love this shit. And part of how I discovered that I loved it was I stopped thinking about the words and I let my body discover through being in that more brain immerse is what we call it, when your brain just like your mind takes a back seat and your body takes over. You might be surprised what you actually like, because there's a feeling that comes through music, and it can ignite certain emotions, and it can ignite a particular way of moving your body that might get you into a place of turn on that you didn't know that you had. So my body really likes slow, fierce muscle exertion movement that has a little edginess and turn on. And then I'm like, rawr. But I never knew, because I just wouldn't listen to that music. Like, these words are horrible.
Do you know Planes by Jeremiah?
What is it?
The Planes song by Jeremiah.
What is it?
Oh, it's so good.
Is it?
It's like the best song to bang it out to ever. But anyway,
you're gonna have to give me some.
I'm gonna give you
your favorite. Playlist from April, please.
There's like some the Frank Ocean album, like Orange, like the whole thing is like so good to get down to too. Anyway, Ellice, I'm gonna have to listen to that Tyga song, please.
Yeah. I was listening to it in the car before I came in. It's what I do before I get ready to like present or go on stage or lead. I have this whole ritual of like, how do I find my turn on, which to me basically is like, how do I ignite my chi? How do I get my energy moving in my body so I'm ready to show up and be present? And so music and grinding against a wall or big hip circles, that'll do it for me.
Well, that's like your power posing, April, but power posing is very masculine.
It is very masculine. I get bigger, like power posing, because it lowers your cortisol, raises your, I do it all the time in meetings. I like always try to get big, but I do love a power song before a big meeting or an event or something, and getting into your sexiest self.
Mm-hmm. Sexiest self just is your powerful self. It's just, you just feel so alive. And
maybe I need to balance the power posing with the sexy thing and do a yin yang thing.
Play a sexy song while you power pose, and then power pose, but then move your hips at the same time.
You got it.
Sounds hot.
I like
Perfect combo.
Woo.
So, okay. So that's amazing. Wait, was there any other piece that we missed from the song aspect and
the emotional
connection?
I kind
power animal. Did you say power animal?
Erotic creature.
Erotic creature. Close enough. Something powerful and animalistic.
So the erotic creature philosophy that's included with S Factor is probably one of my favorite parts of this practice. And it really came from Sheila watching a lot of women's bodies in movement and being like, there's these similar things, there's similar ways of expression happening. So the idea is that the erotic creatures are these fun names like the Dangerous Challenger and the Ice Queen and the Naughty Provocateur and the Blissful Pleaser. And basically, Sheila gave fun names to emotional expression. So emotion is energy in motion, right? So when we're in our bodies and we're moving and that emotion gets to come through, it might look a certain way. And so how this ties in with the music, and I'll come back around to the erotic creatures, is certain music will evoke certain emotional release. And so there's this whole part of the S Factor journey where over time, when you continue to drop into these kinds of movements on a regular basis, your body can kind of unlock the emotions that have been repressed and kind of pushed back down is an opportunity for them to come through. And so I think that's why my kind of nasty, edgy song choice is that I didn't have much of expression of anger. It was like anger was already, that place was taken in my family structure, and it was really scary the way it was expressed. So I wasn't going to be the one that was angry, and it was scary to do that. So I just kind of put that aside. Other emotions were way more acceptable. And so that's part of my biggest transformation, I think, with my own journey with S Factor, is being like, my anger is so amazing and so powerful, and it really equates to like my fierceness and where I can create boundaries, and it's actually where I find the most energy in my body is by tapping into that, not in a like a violent way or an unhealthy way, but like it's a natural emotion and it's been repressed and now it's unlocked and I'm fully on board because nothing's stuck down in there anymore. So music that we use in S Factor classes is really, we choose specific songs for every playlist that we know will ignite or potentially bring out different emotional expression.
So it's not all just like happy and sunshine and rainbows. We're trying to also kind of invoke some of the intense
fire within.
Darkness. Yeah.
The intense darkness. I like that.
We have 10 erotic creatures, 5 light emotions and 5 dark emotions.
Ooh,
so we get to play with all of that.
I like that.
And do you think that a lot of people aren't playing with all that and navigating them? Like there's a lot of them that people aren't, especially women, aren't going into, but this gives them space to finally go in there.
I do. I have the belief that the emotions that we received love for, that we were taught were healthy emotions or good emotions, that we have that access really easily in our daily lives, and the other ones are just kind of tucked away. And when we get into our bodies in a space where we can really let anything that's stuck in there, our muscles can open and things can start to move, then we get to discover what we might not be expressing. Like I'm pretty happy. You gals can tell. I'm like, oh, welcome to class. And I like jump around and shit, but I start moving. It's like slow and sultry and painful and rawr. Like it's a whole other thing that comes through, and that's really the only place in my life where I express that in that way. But it's helped me heal my relationship with all of my emotions so that I can be angry and it's not scary, and I feel like I can do it in healthy ways where I don't hurt people, and it's been awesome.
Yeah.
Do you think that these practices, the S Factor, I mean, not alone, but perhaps could be applied to a relationship?
Good question.
I mean, because it feels like obviously it's getting in touch with your individuality and finding your inner sex goddess and releasing that fire within, but it seems like it could be applied to relationships. But if you had, I don't know, if you had to tell me that answer, what would you think? What would you say?
I love this question. It's actually what I've been thinking about the most lately, because I have women coming to me saying, something's woken up in me and I want to do XYZ with my husband. And I'm not quite sure how to ask, and I don't know if he's going to be on board. And then I'll get the call a couple weeks later. So I was really bold, and I asked for it, and it kind of didn't go so well. And then I have other dancers who are like, my husband's kind of not quite sure what to do with me. So I'm hearing this theme of like, something is waking up, and I'm talking about, really traditional heterosexual relationships. And so I know this, I'm sure, can happen in all kinds of relationships, but where women are unearthing a part of themselves that they may not have had access to. And most of it is that they're connecting with their sexual center. And so there's no block there. And so now they have this new energy moving through them and this new connection with their sexuality and new desire for what they want to experience. And then they're navigating that in their relationships. And so I'm like, well, maybe that's what I should do, is start working with couples. And how do, I don't know, but I get excited. Like, what do we do with that next? Right. But what I would say is, if you are experiencing a change in your connection with your body, you're experiencing a change in your relationship with your sexuality, is to just be really honest about it. And like you gals talk about all the time, and communication and asking for what you want, and, asking in the ways that you often suggest people do.
Dog bark.
Sorry, that's Monty.
Monty's adorable.
Monty the mascot's
Monty,
barking.
he's being a guard dog.
So in that sense, then it sounds like, it's helping people. It sounds like there's some layers coming off, and then women are kind of going deeper into who they really are as sexual beings. And that's coming out in this person that you're talking about. They're like, this is who I am as a sexual being. And then their husband's like, I don't know. And so
they're like, what do I do with that?
So there's like a missing link. So maybe if you did, there's potential for this. It's opening up doors for people to tap deeper into their sensual and sexual selves in a more authentic way. But then maybe the missing link is like, once you figure that out, how do you ask for what you want, and how do you go further?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a lot of what you really guide people with, is like, how do you
Part 2, shameless sex.
give them a cookie and then make a request and like, right? I mean, it's the way to do it. Sandwich it. And like, I love that you're doing this, and I would really love this. And,
I'd love a little more of this.
Exactly. So I think it's all about how we approach it, because in any aspect of who we are as individuals, we change. And so we need to know how to navigate and have tools for how we're changing as individuals in our partnerships. And I feel like this is really similar.
Well, and the other thing too for couples or partnerships is you go and learn some S factor moves, and there's this part. It can show you some things about yourself that you haven't tapped into yet, to boost up your confidence so that you can just be more sexy in general when you go home to your partner. 3, you're going to learn some hot moves to bring home. So if you want to finally do that sexy dance for your partner, then, April was saying that when we were there. She's like, I'm going to do this tonight. So,
I got my stripper heels ready.
It sounds like S Factor is for the person going. It's for you. And you can learn some tools to bring home too.
Absolutely.
And there's drop-in classes, right? As well as like courses, like beginning and then intermediate and then expert, I'm assuming.
The expert. So when we open our new studio, Steel and Grace, there will be more drop-in options. This is actually one of the things that I've been navigating. Is like, how do I adjust the structure a little bit? Because drop-in classes are really, really helpful. Some people need to be able to just pop in once every other week, and they know they can come and they get to have the experience. Most of the S Factor classes that I've been teaching are in an 8-week series. And the reason being is because of this kind of,
it builds.
Yeah. It does. And like, I teach at retreats often too. And so I just did a retreat recently with a woman. She's like the 3rd time she'd participated in this retreat. Oh my God, Ellice, I'm popping. She's like doing it again after having done it before. Like, new stuff is happening. And so there is something about the repetition. So I will continue offering 8-week series at Steel and Grace for upper level classes. And then there'll be drop-in classes. And then all of our pole fitness classes will also be drop-in.
And what's your website for Steel and Grace?
steelandgracepole.com.
So that's like STEAL.
STEEL.
Oh my God, I can't spell.
STEEL and AND Grace Pole, POLE.com.
Okay, so check it out if you want to see Ellice's offering at her studio on the west side of Santa Cruz. If
on
you're
the
local.
west side.
Yep.
Yes.
And
Sexy studio. There's velvet. There's fur. There's all the things. There's a bunch of poles. You're going to love it.
And you can go to also
Super yummy.
sfactorsantacruz.com to learn more. What are your other offerings, though? So I know that you have online offerings, too. Like, tell us more about how people can work with you.
I do have online offerings. This has been a fun development as well. So building my own business, I learned a little trial and error about how to stay in the feminine, which is what S Factor is all about while running a business, because we really have masculine models of how to do business. And the masculine model is great. We have to have structure. You have to have a calendar. You need to show up on time. You want to go into action. You want to finish things. And if we're always in that place and we have predominant feminine essence, that something gets lost. So I've developed a program called the Radiant Woman Immersion, and it's a 6-month immersion where I'm guiding women through a process of learning how to there's so many layers, but really learning how to bring their feminine genius into their business, bring these embodiment practices in so that they can feel like they know how to work with stress by actually moving their body and keeping the emotions, because you're going to be scared sometimes when you're running a business and you might be doing something bold. Your visibility, oftentimes we're the brand of our business. So how do we feel really comfortable and confident in our bodies as the brand of our business? And how do we step into leadership in a way where we can access our chi and have our bodies feel alive, and that we're fully on board. Our sexuality is not cut off, right? We've got our whole selves showing up as we work. So I'm really enjoying this is the third round that I've done of it, and the program keeps building and adding more layers. So this month is Sex Month.
Ooh.
Wait, how do you find out? What is that on the
S Factor Santa Cruz website?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, cool. That's
It's
great.
Sex Month.
And we are going to Pure Pleasure.
Oh,
I'm bringing all my gals. They're flying in and driving in, and I'm hosting a retreat. And we have one 3-day retreat as part of the 6-month program. And so we're staying in a beautiful Airbnb down on the beach, and we're coming to Pure Pleasure. Your mom hooked us up with the little.
Are you teaching at Pure Pleasure as well?
Yeah.
Are you doing a workshop?
I am. First Friday in May, I'm doing a performance actually with one of my advanced students, and then I think it's the 11th.
Of
you
May.
can check out purepleasureshop.com. I'm doing a striptease class.
Cool.
Yeah,
so if you're
Pure
local, check out Pure Pleasure Shop's website for more information on their workshops. But first Friday, every Friday of the month.
Every first Friday of the month. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So the first Friday of May.
She's not dancing at Pure Pleasure every first Friday, but this one she is.
This one she is. So if you're
Find
local,
her.
check it out. And if you're not local, go onto S Factor's Santa Cruz website, sfactorsantacruz.com. Check it out.
Yep, that's where it is.
Do you want to recap or wait?
I always like to
Amy
ask
does.
the question. I think this is always
is
a good question. I think we should do this in every podcast.
We will.
So we will. So if there's one piece of information that you hope the listeners got out of this, that you just wish everyone could know,
A golden nugget of sorts.
about what you're talking about, what you're offering, what would you like that to be? What do you think that should be? Like what should everyone know? And there's might be like 8 pieces. You can even name 2 if you want, but like, what are some key things that if people just like only walk away with that, you're okay with that? Is it like slow down?
Trust your body.
Ah, yes.
You know those little like gut instincts we get that we tend to override sometimes? Just trust your body. She's incredibly wise. She totally knows. And grind your hips against anything as often as you can.
I like that one.
I like that too. That's a good one.
I'm going to do that more often.
Hip
And
circles
I
in
also
traffic.
want to let everyone else know that if you're not following our Instagram yet, you should, because what we're going to do right when we're done with this podcast is we are going to record some little clips of us practicing some of the super sexy, sensual moves that Ellice has taught us. And it might also look a little awkward because we're still learning, but we're going to practice here. And then we might even have April show us her own sexy stripper dance, because she is well educated. It's
If we play my favorite stripper song.
we're playing it.
We're gonna play it.
So this is my shout out to say that you should follow our Instagram, Shameless Sex.
Shameless Sex. It's Shameless Sex on Instagram.
and you can actually see these clips, because by the time that this podcast is up, those clips will be up there too.
And you won't be disappointed. Our Instagram's it pops off. It's pretty good. It's
pretty exciting.
Check us out on Instagram. Ellice, thank you. Thank you for all that you're doing. Thank you for everything, for sharing, for being here, for being amazing.
And I just want to throw out just your website one more time. sfactorsantacruz.com, and Steel, STEEL and AND, Grace Pole, POLE.com.
Excuse my bad spelling of steel. I don't know STEAL is, but
You're going to steal something.
oh, that's what it is.
Yeah.
From my police reports when I was 13.
That's cute. You're cute, Chip. I love you.
Special.
Thank
Thanks,
you
Ellice.
so
You're
much.
so
Thank
awesome.
you.
Yeah.
Come dance with us at Steel and Grace. I hope you guys keep coming back.
I
'Cause you're
would
just
love
getting
to.
started on the pole.
I'm excited about the drop-ins because I've already talked to some girlfriends about it. And I was like, yeah, I went to this class. You'd love it. And they're like, I can't do an 8-week class because I have a kid. And I'm like, well, I think there's drop-ins. So that's great.
We can't do an 8-week class because we're out of town half the time, but I left there wanting more.
Me
like
too.
I left there wanting more. I went
I let a
there.
little bounce my
I
step
went there
afterwards.
feeling a little scared because it's edgy to dance on a pole in front of other people, and I left there like, I want to do that again.
Yeah, me too.
So I highly recommend trying it out. And if you're not in Santa Cruz, then there's the online courses, or you can probably find one in your neighborhood.
Well, thank you for spending your Tuesday or whatever day you're listening with us. We love our listeners, and remember to tune in every Tuesday because we see you next Tuesday. And hit us up anytime you want to email us with questions, comments, or your 5-star review.
Nice Wisconsin.
You're welcome for that, Wisconsin, at Shameless Sex at Gmail. I'm sorry, Shameless Sex Podcast.
I thought you were Sean Connery.
Love me Scottish. Shameless Sex Podcast at gmail.com, or go to our website, shamelesssex.com, for more. So, ciao for now.
Don't forget to head on over to our website at shamelesssex.com for more. And for 15% off of some of our favorite sex toys, use coupon code SHAMELESSPP in all caps at purepleasureshop.com.